In the mid-1980s, each car manufacturer worthy of respect had at least one sports version of their small or medium car. Each brand pursued a personal road for the aesthetic rendering, and for the search of performances, large carburetors, increased displacement, turbo or volumetric, 16-valve. The Peugeot already had two sport versions of 205, or better, 2.5. In fact, at the very fast GTI 1.6 and 1.9, it flanked the XS, very brilliant and fun, but, evidently, it wasn't enough. Thus, in February 1988, at the Geneva Motor Show, the House of the Lion displaces competitors, and presents a new sports variant of his small success car. It's called 205 Rallye, and is designed specifically for races. It is a deliberately essential car, developed by Peugeot Sport, with the sole purpose of creating a model from homologating in the competitions of Gr.N. and Gr.A, a project born with the aim of creating a reliable, competitive, but economic car, to be able to bring fans closer to racing. Offer in a single paint, has a poor equipment, in order to lower both the weight and the price. The displacement is also reduced, as well as the tire section, to limit the management costs. Internally, there is nothing superfluous, and even the central ventilation nozzles disappear. The mechanicals is essential. The engine is simple, but angry. Normal brakes, well-calibrated suspensions, drive it, transmits real emotions, performance is high, reactive behavior. Initially, in March 1988, he is only marketed in France, Belgium, Luxembourg, Holland. In Italy, and in the rest of Europe, it arrives between April and May of the same year. In Peugeot, they think we build the specimens needed to get approval for competitions, and then evaluate the opportunity to continue the series. But, thanks also to an accessible price list, the 5,000 units are sold in the first only 6 months of marketing, and the production of the 205 Rallye continues until November 1992, when, blocked by the upcoming anti-pollution regulations, comes retired, after 30,111 units built, with great disappointment of the many enthusiasts who had got to know her thoroughly. And now, we also know it too. The successful design of the 205, born in the Peugeot Style Center, led by Gerard Welter, in the 3-door variant, is even more appealing, thanks to the particular design of the rear pillar. The Rallye enhances the dynamism of design, thanks to the single-color painting and aesthetic changes. The bumper, taken from the GTI versions, are made of material already originally colored. The front one, instead of the additional headlights, has two side air intakes for brake discs. In the tail, the typical 205 horizontal relief molding is eliminated, which leaves the tailgate sheet in view. Additional fenders, typically racing, appear to the wheelchair. The only available paint is the white Me, which also colors 13-inch sheet metal wheels. On some specimens, marketed in Italy, between the end of 1989 and early months of 1990, white wheel cover was mounted. Complete the characterization of the bodywork, the adhesive band, with the Peugeot Sport livery, exhibited on the mask, and the tailgate, and, thinner, on the longitudinal hollow of the side, the small Peugeot Sport logo, on the front fenders, and the adhesive 205 Rallye writings, on the right side of the tailgate, and 1.3 Rallye, on moldings applied to rear pillars. The red and black contrast dominates the internal view, alternated by the gray of the dashboard and the door panels, and from the white of the sheets. Red are carpet and seatbelts. Black is the velvet that covers the seats, structurally equal to those of the GTI. The stitching are red, and the Peugeot Sport logo is embroidered on the backrests. Logo that also appears on the central steering wheel cap, the same 3-spoke of the GTI, but with plastic crown. The dashboard is that of the base versions of the 205, without a door to the storage compartment, and the central console. The central ventilation nozzles have also been eliminated. The instrumentation is essential, 4 elements, with GTI graphics and orange lighting. The small shift knob, well shabby, has a pleasant design. Habitability is good, especially in front. The driving position is ergonomically successful. The finishes are good. The painting and assemblies are well executed, but the materials are economic and subject to increasing precociously, especially the consistency of tissues, internal plastics, and the hands of the instrumentation. The luggage compartment, quite large, has only one lower coating rug. The standard equipment is essential. There are only the thermal rear window, the opening lateral rear windows, and cigarette lighter. There is not even the right external mirror, and no accessories are provided on request. The mechanical base is that of 205 GTI 1.6, from which the Rallye resumes the suspension and the braking system. The suspension are modified in the calibrations. The front camber extend the front track of 8 mm, improving precision and stability. The braking system has self-ventilated discs in front, and drums with a backward, with double braking circuit. The biggest news is under the bonnet. The engine, derived from the 1124 cc of the new family TU, and named TU-24. He has 1294 cc. It is the engine that debuted on the explosive Citroën AX Sport, developed with the collaboration of the specialist Danielson, is adequately structured for a possible use in the race. They are specific pistons, motor shaft, and cam axis. It is also equipped with a special suction collector and oil radiator. But the peculiarity are the two large two-barrel carburetors Weber 40Com10. It is an engine with a high compression ratio and a considerable specific power, declares 103 horsepower at 6,800 revolutions per minute, and a torque of 12.2 kilograms at 5,000 revolutions per minute. The limiter is calibrated at 7,100 revolutions per minute. The alternator is increased to 1,000 watts, in preparation for competitive use. The MA5 gearbox, reinforced, has specific gears, 13-inch sheet metal wheels, with 5.5-inch channel, Host Michelin MXV 165/70 HR13 tires. The car, after the treatment of lightning, which also affected the soundproofing material, declares 790 kilograms, with full of fuel. Peugeot declares a maximum speed of 190 km per hour, and acceleration, from 0 to 100 km per hour, in 9.6 seconds, and on the kilometer from still, at 31.4 seconds. The average declared consumption is 13.4 km/liter. At the end of the video, technical sheet and performance surveys. In this small beast, everything is designed to transmit emotions and sensations without filter. It is one of the more pure front-wheels drive cars ever made. A setup studied in detail to allow you to hear the smallest reaction of the car to the controls and to the conditions of the road. As the driving position, one of the best ever made on a small car, well-profile seat, well-adjustable backrest. Main commands well-aligned. The steering wheel is held well as the gear knob, at the right distance. Visibility is excellent, in every direction. And even the powerful and well-adjusted headlights contribute to the best driving experience. The ignition, especially hot, is a bit laborious, due to the big carburetors. But, once turned on, the engine has a sound and a character, typical of the race engines, turns of revolutions with incredible vivacity, accompanied by a sound mainly of aspiration, pleasant and aggressive. The accelerator pedal inputs are immediate, and every movement has a reaction to millisecond on the tachometer. This, on well-carbureted specimens. Because the complexity and dimensions of carburetors make them problems to register properly and meet acting, especially on the first specimens, several drawbacks occurred. Mainly, starting difficulty, especially hot, acceleration empty, difficulty keeping minimum, and high consumption. The case was also attributed to the adjustments made before the resolution, in order to comply with the emission parameters. The same Peugeot, through the Weber service network, intervened several times to solve problems with new calibrations and even physical interventions through changes to the filter case and the carburetors themselves. And the results were remarkable, with decidedly improved performance feedback. The improved specimens range from 0 to 100 km per hour in 9 seconds. Despite the big carburetors, consumption, especially at constant speed, are enough economies, with peaks of over 18 km with a liter at 90 km per hour. Obviously, in sports use, they go up. The steering is precise and direct, almost perfect, for such a reactive car. It is also quite light in maneuver. The gearbox has a great maneuverability, and really well scale ratios. The first gear is shorter than the GTI, while the other gears are close. Braking is the most disappointing mechanical component. This does not mean that the plant is not effective. In normal use, it turns out to be powerful and resistant. It has no record rest spaces, but still communicates a good reliability. Their real flaw is that of not being up to that very high of the other parts, but still guarantee the right security. We finally analyzed the behavior of the 205 Rallye. It is certainly one of the best driving experiences, with a front-wheel drive, light, direct in the controls, and immediate in the reactions. Despite a city car tires, it allows exaggerated performance, especially on roads full of curves, where, taken with the right malice, it becomes an uncomfortable adversary. For many even more powerful cars, entering the curve is immediate, and once inside the curve, it faithfully follows the set trajectory, and accepts corrections with great dynamism. Understeer is minimal. Roll is absent. The rear, like all small sporty French school cars, is easy to skid, whose speed and range of action are directly proportional to the speed and to that with which you lift your foot from the gas, but the steering and the trim allow optimal, instinctive control, obviously for those who are not frightened by such nervous reactions. At the time, in fact, it was judged by many as too reactive and unstable, but the reality is far away. It is an extreme car that, necessarily, has fast reactions that require strong nerves, but, in the right hands, it is simply perfect. It is one of those cars, perhaps, not recommended as a first step towards sports cars, but, once you have acquired the right sensitivity, it allows you to fully learn the secrets of driving with a knife between your teeth. Even in the wet, she remains very sincere, but the reactions are more pronounced, and require really quick reflexes. And everything is accompanied by a very pleasant sound, genuine and generous, which amplifies the range of sensitive emotions that this little hooligan is able to transmit, without any filter. In July 1990, the entire 205 range underwent a slight restyling. Of all, the Rallye is the one that changes least. In practice, only the front turn signals, now transparent, and the rear lights, which involve moving the reverse light down, next to the license plate. Finally, the right rear view mirror is fitted as standard. Otherwise it is unchanged. March 1989, Geneva Motor Show. Peugeot presents the 205 Rallye 1.9. It arises from the need to market the Rallye in Germany and Switzerland, markets with stricter anti-pollution regulations, which prevent the marketing of non-catalytic or non-catalyzable cars. Therefore, the 1.3 with carburetors gives way to a 1.9, derived from the engine of the GTI 130 horsepower. Equipped with Bosch Ju2 electronic fuel injection, and catalyzed, it declares a power of 102 horsepower at 6,000 revolutions per minute, and a torque of 14.5 kilograms at 3,000 revolutions per minute. The gearbox has revised ratios, with first and second longer, and fourth and fifth slightly shorter. The rest of the mechanicals are unchanged. The declared weight is 860 kilograms. Aesthetically and internally, it is identical to the 1.3, apart from the switch for adjusting the height of the front headlights, the right mirror, and the rear window wiper, offered as standard. Peugeot claims a top speed of 190 km per hour, and acceleration from 0 to 100 km per hour, in 9.5 seconds. The driving sensations are unchanged, but it lacks a bit of that anger that personalizes the 1.3. In July 1991, it is updated, like the rest of the range. The Rallye 1.9 was marketed in about 1,000 specimens. On the basis of the 1.9 Rallye, the specialist in official Peugeot tunings, Gutmann, famous for his 205 GTI Mi16 and turbo, creates the Rallye 1.9 16i, equipped with the 1.9 engine with 16-valve cylinder head, derived from the 405 Mi16. It declares 158 horsepower at 6,500 revolutions per minute, and a torque of 18 kilograms at 5,000 revolutions per minute. Which, combined with a weight of only 850 kilograms, they promise explosive performance. Gutmann claims a top speed of over 220 kilometers per hour, and acceleration from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, in 6.9 seconds. The exhaust is specific, made by Sebring, with different solutions on request, for the terminal. The setup has also been changed, thanks to stiffer shock absorbers, and springs lowered by 35 mm, and strut bar at the front. Incomprehensibly, the braking system remained unchanged, with discs at the front, and drums at the rear, which in the most extreme driving, showed little resistance and durability. The battery is mounted in the trunk. The 15-inch rims have a 6-inch channel, with 185/55 tires, while 7-inch rims, with 195/50 tires, were available on request. On request, it was also possible to have 4 different solutions for the final gear ratio. In addition to different characterizations for bodywork and interiors, presented in September 1991, it was to be produced in 200 units. At the end of the video, the performance is detected. In 1991, Italtecnica, the official manufacturer of the Peugeot racing cars in Italy, prepared a specific kit for the Rallye, the result of the experience gained over years of racing with this car. It included modifications to the engine, with a reprofiled camshaft, different spring holders, new details for carburetor calibration, optimized electronic ignition, and the entire exhaust system, from the manifolds to the silencer, made by Supersprint. A conveyor that thermally insulates the carburetors. The results are excellent. The detected power is 118 horsepower at 7,000 revolutions per minute, with an increase in torque, at a lower number of revolutions, 13.4 kilograms at 4,800 revolutions per minute. The performances improve considerably, and the result, for an honest price, is excellent. On request, it was possible to have a more extreme sporting setup, but, in Italtecnica, they considered the original setup more than adequate. At the end of the video, the chronometric feedback of the performances. At the end of 1993, when the Rallye was down the curtain for a year, Peugeot presents a new version, specific to the English market. It is a limited series of 830 units, built on the basis of the XD 1.4. It took up some stylistic elements of the Rallye 1.3, such as the air intakes on the front bumper, and the sheet metal rims, but also, the adhesive strips on the grille, while they were added to the front and rear wheel arches. It was available in 3 colors, 500 white Me, 250 express yellow, and 80 blue. Inside, the same seats and the same steering wheel, of the first Rallye, combined with the simpler instrumentation of the first 205 with English scale, the car radio is standard. The mechanicals were the standard one of the 205 XT, with the 1360 cc and 75 horsepower TU engine, which pushed it to 172 km per hour, and allowed it to go from 0 to 100 km per hour, in about 12 seconds. Expressly created for competitive employment, the 205 Rallye has approached and accompanied thousands of young riders to the world of racing. For years, he has monopolized the class up to 1,300 in rallies, in hill climbs, on the track, and in the slalom, both in Gr.N and Gr.A, succeeding, often to stay forward to powerful cars, or his heir, the 106 Rallye. The Gr.N versions were practically standard. The Gr.A reached 130, 140 horsepower. The same Peugeot encouraged the aspirants riders, with strong discounts on the price list, and spare parts, and, based on the results at the end of the season, with refunds and prizes. The race transformation kit was treated by Italtecnica. It is one of the best representatives of the category of small bombs, which, from the mid-1980s, have fueled the dreams of so many young fans, and the nightmares of their parents. It wasn't the most powerful, and even the fastest, but, certainly, together with the Citroën Sport, it was the purest and most essential, and, as character, he had few rivals. The same character, which, often, invited to push it to the limit, and even beyond, with consequences, often, deleterious. Finding a specimen in order, is really difficult. The cars preserved, have now reached important quotes, while those to be restored are, but, we must keep in mind that, some specific details, are, practically, unobtainable. The restoration, is widely justified, by the rarity and historical value, but, the playful aspect of the car in question, must be underestimated. Even today, it is a car that, on congenial roads, becomes a dispenser of emotions and sensations, that, the cars of the last 20 years, have irretrievably lost.